If you're an ugly guy on YouTube and you're trying to get people to support your channel, my hat is off to you. If you can get people to donate, then that is amazing, because it's pretty much a cute chick enterprise. But believe it or not, some people have donated. So you can donate to the coffee if you want to support my vitally important work. I'm doing the Lord's work on a Coffee, PayPal, Patreon, or click the links to go to Odysee or Gab. So Kathleen Kennedy, why is she still employed? People don't understand narrative companies. It is a religion to these people. Normies don't understand what they're dealing with. They vaguely blame it on woke, but they don't really understand it. There's no way to watch Disney Star Wars and think that that is a normal company. I take a little gander at the price differences in the different series. People think Star Wars and they hear these big numbers, but they don't understand that there's a little algebra that has to go into understanding the difference between domestic gross versus international gross, because you take the film company takes a much bigger percentage of domestic versus international. And then another thing is, they don't just make the movies, they have to advertise them. That costs quite a bit of money. Anyway, so there's no way you could look at the totality of the circumstances behind Disney and not think that they're up to something. They definitely have an agenda. An odd example is the height of the actors. I looked it up. Daisy Ridley is about 5'7". John Boyega and the other guy, Poe, are about 5'9". They cast Hobbit-sized men so they wouldn't be too impressive on screen. They wanted the women to be more equal to the men. CNN did it with the Trump-Hillary debates back in 2016. Han and Lando were man-sized men. Luke was a Jedi, so he had, the Force was his strength. He didn't have to be physically imposing or anything. But Finn and Poe were baby-sized, so the women could treat them like kids in diapers, which they did. It was like a disgusting fetish. Alright, I liked Star Wars, but I wasn't a nerd about it. But I viewed Disney as a company that got a race car. I was going to say something about they only got it with first gear, but I think a more accurate thing is that they picked women as drivers. It's pointless. Women can't drive race cars. Their hormones interfere with rational thought. They can't turn the wheel fast enough because of their boobs, and they might start spontaneously bleeding at any minute. They had a cash cow in Star Wars. Their excuse was, I'll get to in a second, that we didn't want the 50-year-old guys. We wanted kids so we could sell them toys for generations. That's another thing. Toy sales are huge for films. But let me stop you right there, because they are lying to you. They don't care about money. Normies think Disney just wants to make a buck, and I'm really sick of normies. Time for normies ended in 2016. It's time for something else. If they wanted money, they would not have made the 2015 diverse abortions. They know diversity and girl power does not sell. They're not stupid. They're Bolsheviks. Read about the 1917 revolution. If you understand that and can read between the lines, then you'll understand Disney and what is happening right now. They know Disney Star Wars was not going to be a big hit. They don't care. And all these other big Star Wars channels are lying. I get the feeling some of them, I know what is up. They sound like they're smart guys. But they're making so much money from YouTube that they're not going to start spurting out over Bolshevism and Karl Marx. Okay, remind me to read the comment at the end. A brand new rumor claims Disney put an expansion on hold. Star Wars Galaxy, Star Wars theme land, yes, we all know. The original idea for the land was supposed to be based on George Lucas's, peace be upon him, original trilogy and would welcome visitors to Tatooine. But according to former Vice President, these plans were scrapped. He explained that Kathleen Kennedy specifically wanted to make the land based on the new Disney Star Wars stories rather than Lucas's classics, which started everything. He stated, Kathleen Kennedy, her point of view was, there are way more Disney Star Wars stories ahead of us than behind us. Are you sure about that? And again, she's lying to you. Like this, if you're just a business person, you think, oh, okay, this makes sense. You don't understand narrative companies. So we really should think about, do we want to build a Tatooine and build what all the 50-something remember Star Wars is, or do we want to build something else which is going to appeal to all the upcoming generations who are going to know the new stories, he continued. It sounds like a reasonable explanation, sort of, but even from a business perspective, you look at it like, if you, in like 50, what is the spectrum, no pun intended, of Star Wars fans? It's younger than that. I mean, it probably, the peak is 50, but it's more like 40 to up, 40 on up. Maybe late 30s, and then there's some like younger who get into it kind of as a retro kick, like sometimes older movies are but there's a big grouping of people who are into these films, and like if your dad is into it, like really into this trilogy, you've got a pretty good chance of getting the kids in it. You don't want to, like, you're always better off, like the original Star Wars wasn't a kid's movie. It was a movie that was made for everyone. And at one time, Disney was genius at that. And don't get me wrong, in 2015, people were a little disappointed with the Lucas's 1999 Star Wars. And so when people heard that Disney was taking over the Star Wars helm, it's like we hadn't been paying attention to how woke they got. Because even if your kids watch the movie, the cartoons and stuff, it's like you're not really not paying that close attention to it. Like, oh, characters get replaced, whatever. You don't really notice it. So most people assumed Disney was going to knock it out of the park. They were just going to crush with these Disney Star Wars. And then 2015 rolled around. We sit down and we see Rey, and we're like, a chick is Luke Skywalker now? That's not that cool. And then the movie progresses, and it's like you think you're on, like the first 15 minutes of the movie are fantastic. You're like, oh, this is the setting, the old 77 setting, it feels like. It's like, and then it just goes off the rails. You're like, this is just propaganda. And then the second and third film, indescribably bad. Indescribable. My point is, Disney at one time could make movies that the whole family would enjoy. They're so far beyond that. And shame on us for being so naive in 2015. But, hey, we gave it a chance. I think it grossed $2 billion. And oh, God, I've talked to this guy who does videos with me occasionally for BitChute and Odysee. He went to this little Star Wars land, and he bought a lightsaber. I'm like, dude, can't you just get those things online? Like, you went to Disney, you spent hundreds of dollars to go, why would you support that? To go buy like $100 lightsaber? Like, you spent all this money. Why are you supporting Disney? Nerds like that, and he's not just a mindless consumer, but I hope he's not listening to this, but like, you can't support people who hate you because they'll continue to give you crappy products. Where's it going with this? Okay, so like their excuse is, oh, we set out to make a kids movie to get the young audience. That's absolute bullshit. Right from the start. Don't even believe a friggin' word of it. They weren't making kids movies. They weren't making adults movies. They're making propaganda. Did you watch the 3 Disney movies? I would love to sit down with some of these Star Wars nerds and just look me in the eye and say, tell me you think there's not an agenda with Disney. Oh yeah, they got woke. Okay, you tell me in your own words, but be specific and be honest. What do you really think that wokeness means? Like, come on, there's nobody listening. Just you and I. Just tell me what you think that wokeness means. Like, you know what's going on, right? Some would be honest, some wouldn't. Anyway, so that was their excuse. That like the 50-year-olds, and come on, like it's more like 40 on up. So they're gonna die tomorrow. They're going to live a long time. And like, no, they're probably not going to be buying your toys. Well, they're not going to buy the toys made for kids. Fair enough. but they will be buying the high-end collectible toys. Or at least they would have if you didn't bend them over and F them in the A over 3 movies. Right off the bat. Disney, Daisy Ridley? No, can't. People, they did this straw man when they said, Finn, oh, you don't like Star Wars because Finn, he was I am not politically correct, you know that. He was one of the more enjoyable characters. He did a great job. I didn't like that you made him the comedy role and he was a janitor. Star Wars doesn't have that kind of comedy in it. He did a great job. Poe did a great job. I don't like that they're short, but you could film around that. I don't like the way they treat them. These are soldiers. They have lives at stake. They have each other's lives at stake. You have to trust them. You have to give orders and take orders. They're soldiers. You're in a war together. You don't treat people like the way those women treated that purple-haired lady who was in Jurassic Park. That's bad leadership skills. I don't care if you're a soldier or if you're in a business or if you're in a friendship or you're any kind of organization. The way Princess Leia and that purple-haired Admiral Holdo treated her male, the men under her, was abhorrent. That destroys faith in the command structure and leadership. You just take and give orders, and you have to trust that those orders are given by competent people. The way Holdo and Princess Leia talked to them, it didn't have verisimilitude. It shocked the conscience. It didn't have any appearance of truth. It took the viewer immediately out of the situation. They realized, I'm watching a movie. I'm watching somebody's agenda. Like some writer, some gay little twink writer is just thinking like he's owning, I don't know, incels, the Trump voters. He's owning people by slipping this past the Chads. Like, no, you're not slipping anything past this. Propaganda is really hard to do. You want to look at good propaganda, you have to look at like CNN, MSNBC, and Fox for the past like decade. That is master level propaganda, at least until they started to take the mask off and kind of lose the ship. Anyway, so this excuse of 50-year-olds who, again, you know, they live a long time and they've got a lot of disposable income. At least, like, to a 50-year-old to buy a collectible doll for $300, it's in the cards. It's on the table. Where a kid is more likely to buy, like, there's going to be a lot of kids who, if their dad liked the movie, then their mom would kind of at least be familiar with it, and you could sell the kids, I don't know, the dolls' toys for like $10 or less than $10. You know, the average child's sale might be like $30 for a couple of these figures, where the dad is buying a $300 figure to put on a bookshelf or more. $300 for collectibles and for these geeks who buy this kind of stuff is just the start. So this is bullshit right from the start. Nobody believes this. This is like, I don't even know anything about the collectible market in Star Wars, really. Like I said, I'm a loose fan, but I'm not a super nerd. But even I know people, I know who's got the money and who will spend it for things that reminded them of their childhood in the 80s. So this little paragraph right here. So and then he added, and on that day, Tatooine was killed at the studios. The Force is female. Okay. There's so much, even like bounding in the comics. I know John Trent is very, very, very deeply, deeply red-pilled, but there's even only so far he can go. So what they did is they killed the golden goose. And they kind of always knew that was going to happen. Like, they're not Pollyanna. They know that diversity and girl power doesn't sell. You're not fooling anyone with this. Okay, so they're underperforming and they're not having the planned expansion. That's not the important part. I want to read this. Not enough attention is given to the destructive individual who actually controls Kennedy, Bob Iger. Bob Iger spent hundreds of billions on ESPN, 20th Century Fox, Lucasfilm. It's Bob Iger who discarded the George Lucas sequel trilogy. So Iger at Force, ESPN, Marvel, Star Wars, getting into social politics. Bob Iger is a globalist. It was also Iger who forced Marvel to de-emphasize X-Men because Fox Studios had film and television rights. It was Bob who got into a bidding war with Comcast for Fox Studio assets. It was Iger who was responsible for butchering X-Men Dark Phoenix because Captain Marvel's feature film. It was he who promoted Captain Marvel. Source Bob Iger and Bob Iger's autobiography, Chapter 11 of Star Wars. Yeah, really, really good point. Iger actively piloted the plane into the nosedive, then grabbed the parachute and jumped out the door. Anyway, oh, god damn it. Sorry for the blasphemy. Like, comment, subscribe. Go to Odysee and BitChute and Gab TV.